So we talk about, a speech generating device, right? So as you see with like today's technology and everything, you have this whole thing where you used to go to the studio, you have the big mixers, then they now went to the laptop where you can even like record a whole song through an iPhone, through an app, right?
Yeah.
And then lately we have AI, artificial intelligence, right? And it can do a lot of things, presets on vocals, mimic somebody else's voice and things like that, whatever the case may be.
I ain't gonna lie, the Drake AI is kind of hard. I ain't gonna hold it. a couple joints, but go ahead.
But I do have a question. All right, so AI with the advancement of technology, it's amazing what it can do. So let me ask you as an engineer, do you feel like AI would be a helpful tool to make somebody evolve in their craft, or do you think that it's just taking a shortcut to the goal? Like, do you think it's evolution or cheating?
Man, I mean, I think with technology, there's always going to be takeaways, right? I mean, there's always going to be things that you're going to gain and things that you're going to lose. And I think, if it's real innovation, if you're really innovation, then you're going to add to the net positive of the whole thing, because you're actually giving something of value to people, right? So I think sometimes we have to like discern the difference between something that's just a really cool feature, like the Drake filter.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool feature, but let's see if like, a year from now people are still, are bored of just using the Drake filter.
If it's a fad or not.
Exactly, if that's a fad or not.
Yeah.
Rather than using actual AI that allows you to create or help you get your ideas out a lot easier.
Right.
Though that might be more beneficial to the actual creative. But I still want to see like how this is going to play out, because one, we have like the business of it and you have the creative of it, right? So that's the funny part, because you have the creative, which is like you can do whatever you want with the creative. But, and the business point, like what's going to happen with intellectual property, what's going to happen with copyright law.
Definitely see the copyright strikes,
I feel like copyright law is having a facelift right now, or needs a facelift, because right now we're in this era where we don't know, like, can you copyright, is it intellectual property to have somebody copy your voice, right?
Yeah. Right.
Because that's not really
intellectual
property.
Yeah.
But then the models that these tech companies are building their AI on is off of the content that they're taking from the artist.
Yeah,
you gotta start with something.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just the the data that is just being received, and it's just.
So if I take a bunch of Drake songs that I don't own, and I model a Drake voice, and then I put that behind a paywall, I mean,
you gotta pay up.
Not only do you have to pay up, but you have to get permission.
That too. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's the conundrum, and from a business standpoint, I think certain things are going to be just fine in AI, and certain things like this may have issues with copyright law and just with people just being okay with it. I'm interested in as an artist, like how do you feel as like using a AI filter on a voice, and like kind of like tricking people to say, oh, I got this Drake, or maybe not tricking people, but like, I got Drake with AI Drake on my record. Is it beneficial to you as an artist?
I tell you this, the reason why I don't really care for it, besides like the humor side, is because I think when I've heard these AI Drakes and the Weekends, right, they mimic their voice, but they don't mimic their swag. And I think human emotion is something that cuts through on a record.
That's a great point.
Like when
I'm gonna stop it real quick.
Yeah, good.
Drake in himself, isn't he kind of, because Drake is the only one who I would disagree with. He kind of already sounds, to me at least, a little robotic. Like maybe
he's monotone, but I will say this: those AIs do not make up for his pen. Those bars are nowhere near Drake bars. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's not me being like light skinned mafia over here, like protecting Drake. But even with The Weeknd, it's like when me as an artist, when I get into the booth, a lot of the times, like, there's been times where we record records. There's a record on this newest project we're about to drop, where I recorded in an Airbnb in Paris. And Ty actually hates it because he's like, dude, we could have recorded this in a much better room, right? But the feeling, the vibe, the feeling and the vibe of where I was at mentally, the fact that I was in another country recording it, that cuts through the record. So I think AI ultimately is gonna help more for production, songwriting type placement scenarios, right? where people who might not have the know-how to technically chop up a sample or understand BPM or tempo or these different things, they will have a more easier alley-oop to these plays. So I think, so I think with new technology,
being in Paris and you know what I'm saying, you
now you can't replace that.
Now you got something on the spot that you want to spit.
That's kind of
replace that.
And what's gonna happen, I think, is that ultimately, like Ty was saying, like there's going to be takeaways, pros, and there's going to be cons, not only for the technology, but I think there's going to be pros to other industries. So when you in this experience of always experiencing things digitally, I think that's going to make you as a viewer and a listener appreciate live shows more. You feel what I'm saying? Like you don't want to show up to see AI Drake perform.
No.
You want to see
Drake.
bodies in there, people and people dancing. You dig? So I think you know, as the famous Prodigy line, you mix the food with the medicine. I always say that line, and I think that's like a great analogy on like life. You know, you take some of the good, you mix a little bit of this with it, and you continue to evolve with the technology too, and become more of a hybrid.
Don't let this hinder you.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists. Like I had some artist friends, visual artist friends, that for the last couple months I've been putting out a freestyle every Friday, Reject Fridays. And I invested in Midjourney because it was more conducive to me.
What's Midjourney? You gotta hit me.
Midjourney is an AI art generator, right?
Oh, all right, okay.
Now I dabble in Photoshop and graphic design, and I have a plethora of artists that can do graphic design. But what happens is when I'm on the road and I'm touring and I need an artwork every Friday, to sit there and depend on human responsibility to make sure you have it on Friday at this specific time for this specific song. Last night I dropped my Freestyle Friday, and I didn't have the song to 10 at night. So I didn't have the song title, I didn't have anything.
Concept of an artwork or anything,
Right, so me having a graphic designer, I wouldn't have been able to meet that time crunch.
And you see what he's doing with the graphics, the same thing's gonna happen to music for like content creators, filmmakers, right? Like why would I hire somebody to score my film?
Oh yeah, it's happening now.
When I
They
can
got
have
AI
AI
to edit film.
You know, exactly. Why pay somebody to give the bed of my music, right? Or have to give some kind of license or royalty out for that, when I can just, you know, AI create that. And I think in those fields, you're gonna see it really created. But I think we will see a lot of people wanting to see real humans making, from the music industry standpoint. I think we are gonna, like, I'm not to say that AI won't be able to have like, okay, we click a button and then create a whole record. But I think we will need a need. And I will just leave you with this. Some of the top people in AI, they kind of bring up this point of that 35 years ago, we could beat somebody in chess with a computer. But still, chess is one of the most played games in the world. And we want to see people play against people. Like we can see an AI, right now we probably can see an AI LeBron James play against an AI Kobe or AI whatever, right? But it's just so much better to see the actual people.
It's special to have a LeBron.
Exactly.
The actual person.
Exactly. So I think ultimately, like, AI is going to help be a tool, and we got to remember it's just a tool.
I think people just got to remind themselves that it's just a tool, not just the end all be all.
Not the end all be all.
I would say the more the story is that AI is good for what it's good for, but there's nothing that beats real live conversation with real people playing a real game. So let's continue this game.
Let's continue this game. Leave this ARTZ turn.
There you go, ARTZ. What you got?